momentarily excuse myself from the constituency to come and contribute to this presidential campaign. Because when you look at the voters that support me in the constituency, I would say 99.99% also support President Mundubile. Yes. So they would not be offended that I had to momentarily excuse myself from the day-to-day campaigns of the constituency to come to Akura province and contribute in a small way towards the presidential campaign, so that we can ensure that come August 13th, we are able to record a victory for President Mundubile as Zambia's 8th president. Yes.
Mr. Engineer Katotobwe, you obviously are a former member of parliament, and you made a bold decision not to come and support the presidential candidate for NRPUP. How did you arrive at the decision of coming to support Mr. Mundubile?
Thank you very much. It's a very easy decision. It's a very easy decision in the sense that our country has never been governed like this before. The extremely extraordinary low levels of poor governance of this country by President Hichilema and his UPND government makes such a decision very easy and simple. The people of Zambia are crying. People of Zambia are wailing. People of Zambia are itching to change the president of Zambia and change the course of the country for so many reasons. Power can be given to you at a grand ceremony. Instruments of power given to you. Legacies are earned. Legacies are never given to you on a silver plate. You must go on any legacy. Unfortunately, President Hakainde Hichilema has not earned his legacy. And to qualify what I'm saying is that you can't run a country based on propaganda. You can't run a country based on falsehoods. You can't, propaganda is not development. Propaganda is propaganda. This government we have in place will be remembered for propaganda. They'll be remembered for telling lies. They'll be remembered for any incident, any opportunity, to lie, they strike. So you have a country cascading to low levels of morality where people can even lie about a death of a former, head of state, because of the mood of the government and the level of lies. But I'm just picking one example of the numerous lies which continue to be propagated even up to now. Zambians countrywide have made a decision to say enough of these lies. Can we have change of leadership and get back to normal? That's one. The second part is these jobs we seek of presidency are sensitive jobs. You must be sober. It's about competence. Are you competent to solve problems for the people of Zambia or not? If you have no competence to solve problems or reduce problems, at least have some solutions to ease the pressure in terms of livelihood of the people of Zambia, then don't raise your head, don't raise your hand for this top job. This top job calls for a personality who has a heart of forgiving. It calls for depth in understanding solutions for the many challenges of our people. It calls for empathy for a bereaved family. It calls for, you must accept to be condemned. You must accept for people to say all sorts of things. You must be ready. You can't have a society where everybody claps for you. It's either the whole society is telling lies or there's a problem somewhere. It's abnormal. Mankind by nature, you can't all agree 100% that all of us are going to be clapping. If I don't clap, I'll be in jail. How? What sort of life is that? So you temper with people by non-performance. You temper with people by having innocent people start serving severe terms. You temper with people by gagging people from speaking. You tamper with people by cheating people that the economy has delivered. Everything in Zambia is now okay. People are happy. People don't forget what you make them go through. You may forget when you ill-treat people. You forget that I ill-treated that one. The people you ill-treated or the person you ill-treated will never ever forget. Why? Ill-treatment is painful. So when it comes to a decision of having our brother, Honorable Brian Mundubile, the former member of parliament from Porokoso, former leader of opposition, and presidential candidate on the BM8 and MZ8 presidential ticket, it's a simple decision because the people of Zambia want to have change of the presidency and the governing party. The people of Zambia are looking for a breath of fresh air. The people of Zambia are looking for, let's go to normal, the way we all coexist. Anybody can say what they want and nobody will come and say, arrest, pick up that one, pick up that one. No. The people of Zambia have been harassed beyond redemption. This is not about billboards. This is not about posters everywhere of ruling party and saying there's popularity. No, the people are tired. People are frustrated. People are hungry. You can't rig reality. Reality can never be rigged, and as a result, that's why you can go and do all sorts of propaganda. But the reality is, if a person is hungry, he's hungry.
To our listeners, we are speaking to the Patriots for Economic Progress, PEP President Engineer Chanda Katotobwe, and the immediate past president of PEP, Mr. Sean Tembo, who is, of course, the independent parliamentary candidate for Roma constituency. Obviously, as we go forward with our interview, we'll be trying to also use Bemba to, of course, for the diversity of our listeners. Kutibalanda, you've spoken about change, Engineer Katotobwe. Maybe those who are currently in government would argue that, no, whilst we have been in power, we've managed to clinch the debt restructuring, economy baralanda inflation twaisangire pali 20+%, apairi pali about 6.5% in terms of numbers. They would argue that maybe when we base on those numbers, baralanda, but economically they are working on those.
My brother will come and chip in. Me, I'll chip in from a basic angle. Basic angle. A marketeer, va market va mama, via order tomato ya 1p per capita. Vaisa ashtisha tomato ya 1p, vasanga mo 200 kwacha. Valusha, babakongwesha kwa banabo 800 kwacha. Vaisa order na kabiri. Vaisa sanga tomato ya fruit washa 200 kwacha, 100 kwacha. Business yao. But at economy na picking. So this, aya mano ya upunka, mano ya maskama, unfortunately, evuteko tukwele. So iya upunke ye, ingana mchefi yako inkongole mchalo. Our people are able to kulinsala. It's very simple. If you've performed, and you've performed satisfactorily, it must show. The people of Zambia must say, the price of milling meal now is 50 kwacha, and I can afford it. You can't come and start comparing at no, Kuzambia, ubunga wali chipa, kukufialo kumbi, ubunga wali dola. You don't know the level of disposable income in those economies. You can't compare to no, amafuta, kuchalo kumbi kulia, yali kwa chasano mtengo, ifo kuno kuchalo kumbi, so mafuta nachi. Aba nenu kulia, minimum salary, wafola limbi, ni $2,000 or $3,000. Minimum So the way our friends have managed, government, it's been hinged on propaganda. So I'll make a simple narrative. In my constituency, my former constituency, Luapula constituency, we had the initial teacher recruitment. They allocated us about 97 or so to be teachers to be recruited. How many did they recruit? A handful. And of those handful, people don't even know where they came from. Simple. When you come to basics, you can't go in a punke at Futurim Champions League. Tamati yakama qualifiers, tamawina part championship tunani league mwawina but mwaisa buka fia to Champions League to play Champions League mfile mwamu ni kati mwalimu Division 1 mwalisa wina Premier League number in Champions League mwaisa buka fia no we've delivered 98%. 98% is a very high score kwa utawali mpapo exam uli wonso mwano wali mpapo exam uli wonso wa pass 98% is a very high score. It's a high-end distinction. Uchushi wali mchalo muno. Na ma statistics everybody paid about 98% debt restructuring na shari huko. How does it correlate? If you've done debt restructuring, why have you failed to pay people? You failed to settle domestic debt. Failed, total failure. But you're saying now Guatemala reserves. From where? So the issue is when you have you're in government, sometimes, in political space, I don't come from a space of telling lies to be popular. I would rather have a honest conversation. But when you come and believe that politics kube pobufi, and then waingira mofes futi mwatu alidobufi, it becomes a total chaotic, bomb. So you can have all these as no naba bomba. When you go out there, the level of poverty in these areas, including urban areas, the level of masses wanting to change government with no regalia. Tawakwete regalia abantu takuli tani kalenda taramya campaign tabuli atino seni muri kuno takuli but abantu balefu kuchinja. Abantu bitwafa kuchinja boma ibombeshe. Boma ibombeshe basungire bwino bitwafa kuchinja. Nabekala bwino. If you have that my economy GDP shabufi. Simple terms, there is no country all over the world where everybody is an economist. No. People and masses respond to simple basics. Can I afford a minimum? Can I afford to rent a house? Can I afford a job? Do I have access to a house? Simple basics. So when people are growing, this is 2026. There are people who graduated this year. You have a university student stepping into a septic thing and dying. Why? They didn't secure that place. But see, you've delivered 98%. So I don't want to go into technical jargon because to confuse the innocent people and make people believe that issue economics economics abantu beshuya fiat nabatsunga bwino tuledila tuleya twashitanga nafula salary na lipira rent na senda kwa madam shopping twashita tonze twatmona abana ku school twashara kulia kushitanga twakupatala na tukwateniti kwa Afrika chiro twadika kuna na tungwe pachizwa twachule. Why? We have disposable income. When you mismanage things and you come and say you've performed, reality is people are suffering. There is no money in the economy. You've heard there is no money story. Well, money just vanished. And meantime, the inflation is going down. If inflation is going down, why are you failing to settle your bills? When you restructuring debt, te kulipile nkongole. Good study structure date kulbe batao tupere niko ishta tatwefo kulipile nkongole. So what take why lego kulipile nkongole. Once you take mafuma punu makula bati nkongole shachalo, it's a going concern. The government comes in, must continue servicing debt. If you are not servicing debt and your economy is still going down, people are still suffering. There is no which project who take kunopula pula bengeza tusontila bati project since to reach the structure debt ishen pia try no kulipila kubanko ngole ko charo cha kongola to tulipila so shidem pia shida na tukula mo convention center kusafisha mwalifako na tukula mo msebo lunchinda kashikishi up to chiengi msebo na tukwisha mwalifako kuno kumye sikulu apula kuno bati bigefya pe bati kulu apula kwa libe bati efikopo kulu apula tulefa kusende kwa menshi no kulwa pula kuno tamwaba bwino tamutusala but abantu besu are brilliant people. Abantu besu are good people. All they want is look after them nicely, be humble, be normal, be a good government. So when you look after people nicely, people will respond.
Okay.
But when you don't look after people nicely, they can't love you. For people to respond with love, they must also see love. They must know all the previous governments we've had, Vasata, may his soul rest in peace, Vankweteko, Ichikuku, Nokumfila Koluse, Abalanda. Valungu, may his soul rest in peace, Valivachikuku, Nokumfila Koluse, Abalanda. And that's why they made a lot of efforts to reduce poverty, to reduce insala mchalo. Insala mchalo hapa nga record ya statistic yadi kwele. Rural poverty is standing at 78%, according to World Bank statistics. 78% out of a population of 20 million, you're almost talking about 15 million people. Abali munsala. Ngamwamu PF inevaranda PF, insala tayari pa 78%. Aba onawile economics, abantu balikeleko bwe. So, my biggest complaint, my biggest disappointment is that febale fwa inchito shabu politician kuteke chalo na shangifyo nefya toma politics. If you have ufi, tufunyepo. Tuna sheko obufi because these are sensitive jobs.
Okay.
You can kill people with hunger. You have to feed 22 million people. So if you are not competent, don't raise your hand. And when these jobs prove difficult, stand down. Ngayauna tinchite yakose yashupa, kula batanga iznena zala, inchite yalishupa, shaishi yatefi yashupefi, legeni wese bakontrole ko bambi na akunganda chapa. Chapa. But state mutwali didefi at flifyo buino, abantu balefwa, nsala, abantu bali babina, abantu bali chula, abantu batakuyo mutiguma kuma kupatala, imisebo shali onaika, fyonse ama systems ya muteko in terms of efficiency. Efficiency ya muteko yaliwela punch. But mleva natuomba sana. Natuomba sana natubika 98%. 98% mwatina mletina election but mwabomba 98%. Abantu bali bomba 98%. Na governance ngalifyo bwino khali. Na mutatu bali bomba abantu bali timwas not bomba. So even the playing field, politics would be leveled because you know you've delivered. And if you've delivered, the people respond.
Mr. Tembo, would you add on what Engineer Katotobwe has talked about on the economy aspect?
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Kaunda, there's a question that I was expecting you to ask me, which you have not asked me up to now, and I'm getting worried why.
We're still getting on.
Yes, and that question is supposed to be a preliminary question. You're supposed to ask me to say, you were a member of PEP. How come you forward in as an independent candidate in Roma constituency?
We were coming to that.
It's important because you keep introducing me as Roma constituency independent candidate. So
and I've been mentioning that you are the immediate past president. Maybe we can
what
also
are the
get to that.
that led me to stand as independent candidate? I think that's important for the abantu kumfana understand.
How you were almost the running mate.
I'll explain. Our party was taken away from us by the government.
How?
This is not a new party. This is a party that was founded about 9 years ago. This is a party. He actually participated in 2021 elections. I stood as a president in 2021. In 2026, we brought in Engineer Katotobwe on the presidential ticket, and we attempted to file in. And the party was taken away from us. It was changed mysteriously from a political party to a church organization. Up to now, the government has never explained why and how that happened. After they made us miss the nomination through ECZ, they then turned around and said, no, your party is still a political organization. So we told them to say, what about this printout you gave to ECZ on the basis of which Vatush today disqualified? They've never responded to our query up to now. So when President Katotobwe is talking about why we want a change of government next month, that is one of the reasons. We want dignity and integrity in government. This government lacks the basics of a government, the basics of any institution. They lack dignity, they lack integrity. You understand? So that is one of the several issues why we want to ensure that we utilize the opportunity to utilize so that Mundubile for next month as Zambia's 8th president. I've known, let me just finish. I've known Honorable Mundubile for a very long time, more than 10 years now. And I know that he is a man of integrity. And our president, these things that we are seeing today, where the police act as cadres, you know, there's double standards in the enforcement of the law. Kwa political violence kukaputa waikata 1 to 10. Kwa political violence southern province kumagoye tatumfui that this is the people they've arrested who killed a supporter of an independent candidate. Nanomba. You understand? The BMI team was attacked in Chawama. Up to now, no UPND thug has been arrested. Instead, Abantu Resu, Ewaikata. You understand? You have the political violence that happened in Kaputa, where 2 people crashed. Noxas on top of the BMI team will suspend your campaigns. Up to now, they are suspended. And yet, they've never been found guilty in any court of law, our supporters. You understand? If you want to suspend campaigns in a particular area, suspend both teams involved in the fight. Only a court of law could ever determine who is the guilty one and who is the innocent one, not ECZ. So the question is, on what basis did then our ECZ Kaputa make a determination at our BMI team whoever guilty, so to watch the suspend my campaign, meanwhile now our UPND very innocent to very continue na campaign. Pantuilia, here in fight. Amana, I want to our level road. We are posse coffee, now we are posse coffee. That is a fight. We are posse coffee, now we are posse coffee. Tayarati, umbina ikara punch na lala, ero umbiaremu mafia. It was a fight. So, if the people are fighting and one unfortunately ends up dead, you need a proper investigation, you need the trial. Court, for you, oh, China, so.
Unfortunately, that is the nature of this government. How we got a printout which came from the Home Affairs Ministry, the Home Affairs and Internal Security Ministry, Office of Registrar talking in real time that these changes were done at a business cafe, internet cafe. I asked him how can an internet cafe,
who initiated the changes?
How can an internet cafe have access to government records to make changes? Show us a record. Honorable Tembo here, incoming Member of Parliament for Roma, asked, can you show us the source document, which is the basis for these changes? He said the computer, the folder is not opening. When he said, why don't you, I'm going to amend the record to show that this is a political party and not a church. And I can amend it with you appoint any of the 2 general secretaries who are appearing, who were appointed with no mandate. We said, can you reinstate the old Secretary General of the party? He said it will take over 1 month to do fingerprints and vetting. So you are going to miss the nomination. The quickest way is choose these erroneously or illegally appointed general secretaries, 2 of them, choose 1. We reluctantly left, and my colleague, Honorable Tembo, then party president, as mandated by the party constitution, raised a letter or wrote a letter to the acting registrar of societies, informing him of 1, can you reclassify this as a political party? 2, can you appoint this name as the Secretary General of the party? From there, we proceeded to amend, to produce new adoption certificates. As you are aware, a general election involves almost 1,900 councillors, almost 100 council chairpersons, mayoral elections, and 226 parliamentary, candidates. All of those must be given adoption certificates. We ran adoption certificates the whole night. My colleague had them signed by the newly appointed Secretary General, and they were disbursed to be delivered to remote parts of Zambia. When we went to file in the following day, on assumption that the record has been amended, to our shock, to the shock of our party, the shock of all of us on that presidential ticket, we were told that the Registrar of Societies appointed the deceased person. Of the two members appointed, one is deceased, as the Secretary General, contrary to written instructions, formal instructions from the party president, who had mandate to appoint a Secretary General. Now, when the Registrar of Society was in conversation with us, he was going to the permanent secretary to consult. He kept going to the PS to consult. And who does the PS report to? The president. So when they told us that, we realized there's a big problem here, because they defied a written instruction. We have correspondence which we wrote, received by himself, and we couldn't file in because he opted to appoint a dead person. When we're talking about immorality by this government, this thing of tampering with dead people, I don't understand. They wrote a letter appointing a deceased person to the Secretary General of the party. And that's what made us not file it. We wrote to Electoral Commission of Zambia to explain the circumstances and ask them to extend the nomination period. We wrote to President Hakainde Hichilema to prevail over his officers. He has never ever responded. So when they come and say the record was not tampered with, it's cheap. It's cheap, useless talk, which should not be coming from a senior government official. Senior government official must give credible government position. A senior government official gives a cheap statement and says the records are not tampered with. What about Electoral Commission of Zambia? Where did they get that record? And they got two records, mind you. The first record, classification to a church. The second record, changing the Secretary General. So all this thing being done is for simple fear. They were saying there's no opposition. Hakainde Hichilema feared me being on the presidential ticket with running mate Tembo. He was scared. Simple. How would you bar an innocent ticket like ours? An innocent, viable, vibrant ticket coming to provide solutions for the many challenges of our people. We were determined to come and provide solutions. It's a sacrifice to raise your hand and want to come and work for the people of Zambia. And the people are saying there's no opposition. We are the first ones to get frightened of our presidential ticket and do crude, cheap, illegalities to block us from contesting. So when he's saying we need to change government, this has never been seen in this country before. There is no political party which has been changed to a church. I was standing for the presidency of this country for the first time. He stood 5 times. Did anybody convert this party to a church?
Well, maybe.
So no, let me just finish. In this life, let's be civil. Let's do correct things. Yes, if you are saying there's no opposition, and I must thank the people of Luapula constituency, the people of Luapula, and the people of Zambia, who believed in these tickets. We are not the most cantankerous people, we are not the most vulgar people, we're not the most talkative, no. What even made us raise our hand for this job is because of the low levels of governance, poor levels of governance the country has been subjected to. But at the end of the day, it was crushed and brutally crushed, and people have moved on like, oh, it's okay, we did this illegal thing and it's done. And a caution to civil servants. These civil servants who are being abused to do illegal things, it's crime. What they did to us is crime, plain criminality. It's not politics. They can sponsor people to say church and what have you, trying to make it a joke. No, this is not a joke. You can't change government records. You one day where you are going, you wake up and your name is no longer Makaunda. Your name has been changed to Musonda Mbewe. How? Because government is a custodian of all records of its citizens. You can buy a vehicle, it's in your name. Next you wake up, the record has been changed. You have a vehicle, somebody comes to you and says, this is my vehicle, I have the record. Such levels of irresponsible illegality. And you want to boast that we are now in Champions League. Champions League of crime?
Well, obviously, it's a big topic that we can go on and on and on. But let's get back once again to why you are in Luapula province. Let's continue with the discussion. Again, we are talking about, you touched on the issue of recruitment or maybe creating jobs, and they would argue that over 30,000 teachers were recruited, over 11,000 health workers. And this week we've seen an advert of about 2,600 health workers who are going to be recruited. They might argue based on that issues of recruitment of health and civil servants, so to say, is being worked on in one way or the other. How would you react to what they feel they have done as well with the free education in mind?
So Fiance probably bang of Yam Tembo and then go with even the other area question on the economy.
Yeah, so Wakawanda, if you look at the issues which our names and are boasting about that they've achieved, let's talk about employing civil servants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you talk about employing civil servants, that is a routine activity of government. It's not an achievement. They're not the first ones to employ civil servants. When the Patriotic Front was in office for 10 years, they employed more than 100,000 civil servants. But they never talked about it. Warungu never went on any stage. Nokialanda jine, Mumbweke Shekopo Pachipunechi, Pantu Naringishenshito, I'm a teacher, Naringishenshito, you know, any other cadre of civil servants. He never did that. You know why he never did that? It is because he had better achievements to point at. Apakusonta. That is why even when you compare the presidential campaign, Yavarungu in 2021, with that of Hakainde Hichilema this year, HH goes around the country making promises. Warungu used to go around the country commissioning projects. You get the difference. HH will go to Western Province and say, I'll build airports in each and every province. That's a promise, huh? You're making a promise. Okay? Warungu would go to Western Province and go and commission that very expensive road. He would go to Mungu Kalabo Road. He would go to Southern Province and commission Kazungura Bridge. He would come back to Lusaka and commission KK International Airport. The following day, he will go to Chainama and commission Levi Mwanawasa Hospital. So Warungu never went around the country during his campaigns, ukupangama promises yo. Vale sonta epo babombele. He would come to Northern Province and commission Kasama Airport. Those are tangible projects. No matter neswawa, tawakweta pakusonta. So since tawakweta pakusonta, kulolesha nokusala ngafiati nalingisha ama civil servants. Ilia nichimochine nokulanda ati I bought 10 reams of paper during our tenure. To Arishtama paper. But I'm a paper more from government office like printer. So how is that an achievement? It's a routine activity. Employing civil servants is a routine activity, which is not an achievement. Because you need to continuously replace civil servants. Vambi, Valashita retire, Vambi, Valafwa. You understand? School yarashita expand. So it's a normal routine activity employing civil servants like teachers. There's nothing special or there's nothing of an achievement in that regard. Nothing whatsoever. Okay, let's talk about the issue of inflation. Inflation. They come up with figures at inflation has come down to 6.5%. Around February, every month they announce a reduction in inflation. No, inflation is the rate at which prices rise. That's inflation. Now, the source where those figures are coming from, Zambia Statistical Office, is a government office. And looking at the way the UPND government has been hijacking government institutions, even supposedly independent institutions like ECZ, ECZ that no, BMH ticket should be suspended, UPND should continue. You can see the vastness there. The way institutions like the Zambia police are compromised. So an average Zambian should ask themselves, why can't Zambia Statistical Office be compromised as well so that they produce fake statistics? The question is that a possibility? And the answer to that question is yes, it is a possibility that Zambia Statistical Office has been compromised to produce fake statistics which support the government narrative in this election year. Because we know for a fact that the UPND government has not been allowing state institutions to operate independently. So now, what further evidence adds to that narrative that those figures, higher inflation, 6.5, might be fake? What are the evidence? They are other institutions. What are institutions be? I have to calculate inflation. Okay, let me just finish. Don't disturb me.
No,
what are those institutions? We have the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR. You know JCTR?
Yeah.
So JCTR calculates inflation by compiling what they call if you calculate the increment in terms of prices from January to June, because we are talking up to June, you are talking about a 33% increment in prices. Okay, so you are comparing 33%, which JCTR has calculated, versus the 6.5%, which government is claiming through a government institution, which we believe is not independent, called the Zambia Statistical Office. So you can see the discrepancy is huge. If you ask me between the JCTR on any day, because I know JCTR very quite integrity. The Catholic Church has integrity.
But
the UPND government has no integrity.
If you are in government, won't you be using the figures from Zamstat?
I would, but I would ensure that Zamstat is operating independently and with integrity. We are just talking about a permanent secretary and their registrar of societies changing our party records and disqualifying us from filing in our nomination after paying nomination fee, 100,000 kwacha, after spending more than 5 million kwacha in nomination fees for our candidates across the country. So that is the lack of integrity that we are talking about. So if you have a government which can change records, valuation akumbali, change the record, valuation akumbali, Mr. disqualified, and then they come back and issue a statement that that change the record, and yet you have a copy of what they changed, which was given to us by ECZ. Can you explain this? Explain. That is zero integrity. So such a government which has zero integrity, calculate our statistics, inflation is 6.5. I wouldn't believe that. You need to be you need to have lost your mind to believe anything that comes out of this government, especially if it has the potential to portray them badly. You need to be out of your mind because they have zero integrity. And what my president here is saying is that Zambia is a country which we didn't start yesterday. Zambia was birthed akale sana, before some of us were even born. Tulekala mu mukyalo muno, tulafwa twashirako abana nabe nabaikalamu bafwa bashira abana babo. You understand that? That's how important our country is. And Zambia does not live in isolation. We live in a global village. Twalikwatama nembazi ukwali ba DRC, Tanzania, Malawi, Zimbabwe. We need to visit, our people need to visit. So nga twakwata government isha kwata integrity. It lowers the integrity ya Zambian. Any Zambian who kwata passport ya green across a border, wakula mwana fiat hawa ku Zambia. So the current government, based on their behavior and lack of integrity, they are destroying our country. And what we are saying is that fwevena Zambia na tukwatako aka opportunity pa 30th August ukukontrol efintu nokusayingisha mo boma ya kwata integrity, so that nga cross a border na passport ya green twashita present passport na ku UK, ku Canada, ku USA nga wairolesha passport ile bakwatfida chale babakeke nishibali mu office yakwe watani wewe Zambia how is Kalusha wali, how is keke ikala hapo tukuipikire uwali. We want that level of respect and integrity at a global level. Right now, twalisevana with this government and these 5 years, twalisevana. You know, when you compare institutions,
the Kwacha was recently voted as
when we compare institutions, and you are comparing a private institution and a government institution, on any day of the week, ideally, a government institution is supposed to have higher integrity than a private institution. But in the current circumstances, zero integrity. That's the kind of government we have. So even if it atulalanda kulifia economy, even if atulalanda if you are kwewat no ukupera umufundo wingi than utumeda utueto walepera abantu, just integrity. If anyone doesn't have any other reason to change government this August, just we want a government which can act like a government. Na integrity. Imwe wakaunda, whether you support Brand Mundubile or you support Hakainde Ichidema, you deserve equal protection before the law. Me, I'm an aspiring candidate under Roma constituency. Our people who campaign on the ground are attacked on a daily basis. Uku washita kidnapu, uku watwala kwa UPNG office kuchipata compound kulia, waya waponona, waya washtenshi, ngatwaya report apa police. You know what we are talking? We'll call those cadres so that they fail. Our police report. The standard way of doing things is let me just finish. I'm just giving you an example. You go to the police, opposition. Instead of taking the report, more people, every police station has an people or currency book. Me, I'm a former police officer. I know how the police are supposed to operate. I was an assistant superintendent of police, very senior position. You take the report, take a statement, give that person the medical report form, tie a clinic, and you open a docket and investigate. That is standard procedure. But the police fail to take a report. Why? Because you are opposition. But UPND member I start complaining, wangu vaisa 5 muku kusenda paka pausha. And yet you are all Zambian citizens. We cannot continue to live in a country like that. Coming back to what was the other economic question that you asked? Reserves or what? I want to answer all the economic questions.
Well, the other economic question was obviously that you've touched on, and even
inflation.
So
inflation is not believable.
I just add on before we move to the economic question. The grave issue, you know, people in the media, our, journalists. I'll give you a classic example. This is not about Katotobwe, it's not about Tembo, it's about Zambia. When you have a head of state, President Hakainde Hichilema, he goes and says 5 members of the ruling UPND voted against Bill 7. You journalists, we are monitoring Parliament. when Bill 7 was being voted for. The results which you are showing there was that there was no. Now, you're not asking. The president says UPND members 5 voted against Bill 7, and he names them. The record which is there at Parliament, which was televised live on Parliament TV, shows that there was 2 no at second reading. At third reading, there was 0 no. So it's very simple. You know, we're not talking rocket science, we're not talking, you know, deep mathematics. It's very simple. When a record says there is 0 no, and the other one is 2, and the head of state, the president of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema, says 5 members of UPND voted against the Bill 7, constitutional amendment, a sensitive thing like that. And you journalists keep quiet.
It means the record was tampered with.
It's either the record was tampered with or there's something wrong with the president. If the record was tampered with, how? So this level of integrity in Zambia has never been seen before. When the president says 5 UPND members voted against Bill 7, it will be consistent with the record we saw on Parliament TV on the day in which the Zambian constitution was being amended under Madam Nelly Muti. Now, if we start doubting, these are sensitive issues. These are sensitive issues. We're not dealing with that, no, the VTEC, no. It's the country's constitution at stake. The country's sacred document is tampered with now, it's laced with, you know, whether it's fraud or what, we don't know. And you, the fourth estate, are just watching like it's normal for somebody who's the president of Zambia to say 5 people voted against, and the record at Parliament, which was televised live, it shows that there was 0 voted against, and the 2 who voted, you know, at second reading were PF aligned, who left the chamber. How do you reconcile? How do you sit and say there's integrity? From where?
Well, Mr.
No, I just wanted to make that intervention. My colleague, you can continue with the economic question.
I'm obviously receiving a notification of our timings of the program. Maybe we'll start with Mr. Tembo as we are winding up. Your word to the people of Mansa, the people of Zambia listening to you, be it live on radio and those who are watching on Facebook. What would be your remarks as we are winding up with our interview this evening?
Well,
there's a lot that we can talk, obviously, but maybe the time.
I think my request is simple to the people of Mansa, the people of Wapula, and by extension the people of this Republic of Zambia. Avena Zambia, avena Wapula, avena Mansa. Ndemirombako. I'm on my knees. Although but I'm on my knees. Okay? I'm pleading with you. Let us change government next month. This opportunity that has presented itself next month will not repeat itself again for at least 5 years. So let us change government next month so that we can turn a page on this dark chapter. This dark chapter made up of 5 years. We can turn a page and open a new chapter where the leadership is made up of people who have integrity. Abantu abatemwa abena Zambia, abantu abanga tutwala ko pantanshi. I'm pleading with you. Let us change government, and we can only change government if we elect President Brian Mundubile into office on the 13th of August. Nami papata tuchinje ko wikalo na perafi apapeni.
Right. Great. That was Mr. Sean Tembo. To you, Engineer Katotobwe, we have seen people, you are the president of the Patriots for Economic Progress. We have seen other candidates who were running mate, but they are now running to the BM8. You, as the president of PEP, you're also running towards the NRPUP. We are not going to ask what you are running away from. The question as we are winding up is, what is it that you are running to which you feel is worth running for for the NRPUP?
It's the country. It's my beloved Zambia. We are all, rallying behind President Brian Mundubile to become Zambia's 8th president and give Zambia a sigh of relief. We are all joining hands to rally behind him, not out of any other interest, but for the welfare of the country. I get saddened when I hear economic performance when the country in this era got, reduced to least developed country, 6th poorest at one point. And you are saying you've delivered. I get concerned when I say it's election time, and people, what have they commissioned? Toilets. The cost of commissioning toilets in Kitwe by a head of state, the motorcade alone is more expensive than those toilets that are constructed. In this age, this technological age, go to all these countries that have industrialized, whether it's a tiger economy, there's no head of state who goes to commission toilets. It saddens me as a Zambian to see my president is going with the whole state machinery and government costs being escalated to go and commission, toilets on the copper belt. Why? This so-called CDF, it's not a developmental tool. CDF cannot develop the country. But because of having a government that is deceitful, they went and lied to the people of Zambia that CDF will bring development. Which country in the world has developed using CDF? They want to run away from their responsibility as central government to do the developmental agenda and lift the country's developmental trajectory. When you run away as a government and you want to CDF, how? CDF is meant to alleviate poverty. It's community-based projects. The structural integrity of a community-based project and a normal project with a project management team starting from architects, engineers is very different.
In 45 seconds, Engineer Katotobwe.
In 45 seconds, all I'm saying is that it's an emotive, feeling to be back in Wapula, the hometown of, our, Andatif Kolwe, and my political career started from here. And it's evolved in 4 years, 4.5, 5 years where we are. And in 5 years, a sitting head of state got scared of my presidential bid. Can you imagine? It touches me. The people of Wapula, the people of Zambia, and how they embraced our presidential ticket, myself and my Honorable Tembo here, to frighten the president. It's shocking. So me, all I have is extreme, profound gratitude for the people of Zambia, the people of Wapula province, and the people of Lunga for the respect they've accorded to me. I'm ordinary. I come from this community. I've only served 5 years. And the people, Mchinshi, Avena Wapula, Avena Lunga, Avena Zambia, Bampela, in 5 years, humbles me and continues to humble me. My standing to say, no, I'll remain as support by Brian Mundubile. My colleague can go and run in Roma, and he will be a very credible candidate for Roma. And I've always appealed, that we need to upscale the caliber of people taking part into politics.
Okay.
Vashon Tembo here comes with impeccable high-end credentials. He's a top student, and he's exposed. And the wisdom he brings to Rome and Parliament is phenomenal. We need more. We should not have a stage where people say politics is dirty. No, politics must be made clean to have the best brains, our best children to enter politics and enjoy life politically.
Engineer Katotobwe,
thank you.
We appreciate you, Engineer Katotobwe, President of the Patriots for Economic Progress, as well as the immediate past PEP President, Mr. Sean Tembo, for making an appearance on KFM Radio and stating to the people of Mansa and the general populace in the province and the country at large of your message and your support towards the NRPUP presidential candidate. Well, to you listeners, the views and opinions expressed on this program do not represent the views of KFM Radio, but that of the sponsors of the program, in this case, the members of PEP. Ekutira mkwaya malanguluchi na matonkanyo ya chopali uno program te malanguluchi amlabasa wa KFM lelo bantu achipetera uno program apacho mkwaya ba president ba PEP awani ba engineer Chanda Katotobwe kumofe na bali kunumoku abalinga bagateka ba PEP ba Tembo konkanye nipo kutika kufyala konkapo mkwaya just one person. Okay, KFM chungula mkwai. Okay, then we have had a technical challenge with our phone line during the day. That's the reason why we haven't been able to pick the calls this evening and couldn't mention the numbers. But all the same, we appreciate engineer Chanda Katotobwe. Kumofina ba Tembo pakusangwa pali unamlawasa wa KFM Radio chungula mkwai.
Karubuto.
Karubuto. Perampi.